Philmont absolutely led me to being a teacher. I would not change any of it. Teaching is my calling. It absolutely is.
The strategies of teaching and being able to connect with people and being able to tell or explain something in different terms. I really did learn that at Philmont.
And that teachable moment.
Talking about other strategies to overcome, negative attitudes or other challenges. What did you learn from your time as a ranger in that way?
I learned that if I am patient and I give them time to get to know me and learn that I am capable, and I just stay confident in myself, that they are going to accept me. I did have a crew that absolutely said, they weren't listening to anything that I said for the first 2 days until I was attacked by the bear that night. When they got out of their vehicle and I was introduced as their ranger, they said, "Oh, you're going to show us around camp today."
Like a tour guide.
Yeah. And then tomorrow I'm taking you out on the trail. Well, you're female. Oh, I noticed. I said, "Yeah, I am." They said, "This is a Boy Scout camp." I said, I'm in the Boy Scouts. I've been in the Boy Scouts for 4 years. I said, "Trust me, they wouldn't hire me if I wasn't qualified, and especially not this year." So they were kind of blowing off everything that I said. Mm-hmm. We started out at New Abreu. We were going up to Toothache Springs on the side of Uraka Mesa. That morning I was checking their fire pit. Mm-hmm. And back then we burned all the garbage. And they had just taken their hash browns that nobody had eaten and scattered them in among the ashes and stirred them up well so they're black. So I'm picking through it and I'm going, wait a minute, packs off, everybody over here. And I made them dig through literally on their
hands through the
fire pit and pick out all of those hash browns. I was furious. And then we're walking across those sagebrush flats in the heat of the day. They were kind of late getting up anyway. And now we're getting a late start, walking across the sagebrush flats and up through the scrub oak on the side of Uraka Mesa. And we get up to Toothache Springs and assistant advisor says, "All right, I'm going swimming." And I said,
"Oh no,
you're not. That's for drinking water." "Well, we're going to camp here in the meadow." "No, you're not. We don't camp in the meadows. We camp out in the trees." And so they were really, really upset with me. And that night we had veggie vomit for dinner. And that was the lemon lime veggie salad. Please only mix up 1 package of this and only put in half as much water. Otherwise it does not set up. They mixed up 4 packages of it, added all the water. So when it came time to burn the garbage, they just dumped it on the fire and extinguished the fire. And they were mad that I made them start the fire up and burn all of it and burn the garbage and evaporate the dishwater and the whole 9 yards. And I was just going to get up and leave in the morning. I was not going to have breakfast with them, nothing. I didn't put up a tent that night. And that's when I woke up to a bear standing on top of me. I had told them camp in a close group and they were camped all over creation. It wasn't really a large, but they were camped all over creation. I told them, never put your pack in your tent with you. If the bear wants something out, let him have it. One of them had their pack in their tent. They had butter melted on the inside, had melted in the inside of their pack and stuff. It was just a miracle that the bear came to me instead of to them. I screamed for some time before anybody heard me. And finally, the advisors heard me. They both show up. And these 2 men that, the first look on their face, I remembered as they got off the bus was, "Oh, hell, what am I going to tell Ethel when I get home?" 160 guys, 2 women, and I get one of the women.
Yeah.
And there they stand in their boxer shorts and their t-shirts hanging out over their bellies. And back then boxer shorts were baggy and their little Red Wing hiking boots. And one of the advisors has a sleeping bag in one hand and a flashlight in the other. And I'm thinking, what are you going to do? Throw your sleeping bag over the bear and beat him with the flashlight or what? And they said, "There's no bear. You must have been having a dream." I said, "Oh, there was a bear." I had woken up once and turned over and I sleep down inside my sleeping bag. When I woke up the second time, I don't wake up real fast. And I woke up and I thought, it's got to be a bear. Okay, roll up into a little ball. I realized I couldn't move because he was standing on my legs.
Oh my
Take a deep
gosh.
breath, see if you can smell their halitosis. I couldn't breathe. He was standing on my shoulders. And I thought, okay, if it's a bear, and he growled in my ear, and that's when I started screaming. So I knew
Gosh.
there was a bear there. So I crawled out of my sleeping bag, and of course, the back of my t-shirt was covered in blood. I
Mhm.
pulled up my shirt, and I had, claw marks on my back. I knew that they hated me. I knew that they hated me. And I didn't like them much either. I said, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to use up the wood that the kids made or collected for breakfast. I'll collect more in the morning, but I'm going to build the fire back up because I can't go back to bed. And finally, one of the advisors looks at me and he says, you are not staying out here alone. He says, you're coming back with me and the crew chief to our tent. Get back to their tent. And the crew chief is trying to put up the tent. The advisor had heard me screaming, had gotten up, run out of the tent, face planted, because he was still in his sleeping bag, knocked down the tent, had to go back, get out of his sleeping bag, go back in looking for his boots in this collapsed tent. And when he got back and the crew chief is putting up the tent, he's looking around, he's going, where's my sleeping bag? He's the one that was holding his sleeping bag. He didn't even know that he had his sleeping bag. So I slept with them, between them for the rest of the night. Didn't sleep, but the bear did come back, took the food bag from the campsite next to us. And those kids, they heard it, they weren't getting up. So the next morning they brought me coffee and cold cereal for breakfast in the tent. I ate it and then I projectile vomited over my sleeping bag, everybody else's. This day I don't drink coffee. I can't stand the smell of coffee and I don't eat cold cereal. Little PTSD there.
Rightfully so.
The ranger in the campsite next to us, I was just going to hike over to Uraka Mesa. I mean, I'm the ranger. I'm the one that's supposed to know what to do, right? I'm in a state of shock. So I was going to hike over to Uraka Mesa and come down through Lover's Leap. And he says, oh no, I've got a friend coming down to the road to pick me up. We ended up hiking most of the way into Rayado. We caught a ride with, I think it was the Jewish rabbi coming out, and he gave us a ride back. But the advisor asked me if I would talk to the group the next day before I left. And I said, yeah. So I just told him, I said, you guys haven't listened to me the whole time because I'm female. I said, what you have to understand is this little notebook here. This is my ranger notebook. It's the same notebook everybody else has. I had the same training as everybody else. I said, you probably never thought about this, but in order for me to be hired as a ranger, as one of the first female rangers, I have to be overqualified for this job because they want this to work. So Kathy and I are overqualified. We're more qualified than any of the guys. And I said, you just blow everything off. The fact of the matter is this stuff is for your safety, to help you be successful on the trail. You can't just blow it off because it's coming out of my mouth. You have to take that information, no matter who's giving it to you, and use it. I hear that you had your pack in your tent last night, and I know that you had butter melted on it from the day before. I told you to keep the smellables out, hang them up. And I told you to keep the packs out of your tent. You were camped way the heck out there. If a bear had attacked you in the middle of the night, nobody would have heard you screaming. And he says, you don't know that for a fact. I said, yeah, I do. He says, there's no way you can know that. I said, did you hear me screaming last night? And I took off my explorer shirt and I turned around and I pulled up the back of my t-shirt. And of course, the back of my t-shirt was all bloody too. And I said, how many of you heard me screaming last night? The kids were in tears. The advisors were in tears. And I will tell you that the reports that I got from staff camps for the rest of the summer was that this was the perfect group after that experience. They did everything exactly right. So eventually they're going to figure out that no matter who it is giving them this information, you were hired because you were qualified, and that if they give you a chance, you can do the job. I will tell you, I never told my parents.
No.
When I got home, because I knew that they'd be down there to get me right away.
Yeah.
And it took a while. I mean, I did have broken ribs. And so I was off the trail for a while. I was in the shower maybe 3-4 days later, and I was washing my hair, and these chunks of something are coming out of my hair. That first time I had woken up, the bear had clawed my head this way and this way, trying to see what was in the sleeping bag. So yeah. At the end of the summer, my mom asked me why I never talked about bears. And I said, well, there's bears down there. She eventually said, were you attacked by a bear? And I said, no. You're lying to me. And I said, no. She says, I can tell you're lying to me. I said, okay, Mom, I was attacked by a bear. Not really. I said, yeah, really.
You just asked.
And I asked her years later, before she died, I said, did Philmont let you know that I was attacked by a bear? She said, no. She says, if I had known, I'd have been right down there. You would have not finished the summer. I said, that's why I didn't tell you, Mom.
Did you were able to take out more crews through that?
Oh,
one?
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear an advisor snoring and just go, and put up my tube tent between two trees that were, 5'3" apart, because that's how tall I am, and surrounded by bush.
Yeah, with bravery to keep going. You can tell how much you loved it.
Well, that first night I was afraid to sleep in my tent alone, because Kathy and I didn't
Sure.
have a tent anywhere near anybody else. We waited until after dark, and some of my friends snuck me into Ranger City into an empty tent, and I spent the night there and set my alarm for real early in the morning and got up and snuck back, because if I'd have been caught there, that would have been the end of the Ranger program.